Okay, this is the learning frame for Hamilton. Yes, yes. Okay, question 1. What does this play reveal about flaws in human nature and experience? What can this production teach us about overcoming these flaws in natural man as we turn to the Savior? This show has a lot of characters, and they're all portrayed as complex for like the majority, except for maybe like King George, but like complex and fleshed out characters. And while there's like deeds that are worse than others, like Hamilton isn't the whole out hero of this show. He makes a lot of mistakes that are shown and really highlighted as mistakes and human flaws. We see how his ambition can lead him to faults. We see how he betrays his wife and has his whole affair, and how that blows up in his face. Like during the hurricane song, where he like thinks about all his past and what led him here, and he comes to the wrong conclusion about what to do and makes a really bad decision. And all the characters have those flaws. Burr definitely is showcased in those human flaws and experience. And we see like Hamilton kind of has in the second act an arc when he loses his son and he draws closer to Eliza because of it, and they're able to somewhat heal their relationship, at least a little bit. And we see that he actually turns a little bit to religion in Quiet Uptown. He like takes the kids to church, and so we see him kind of repenting and doing better, which is Christ-like actions. And we see how this, it leads to blessings in his relationship. Then he dies, but that's a whole different thing. Anyway, okay, that's that one. Okay, question number 2. Was this work a mirror in your own life through characters, experience, or the production itself? If so, how? What does this production or script teach you about yourself? Every time I watch this show, I get a different perception of who I relate to more, especially with Hamilton and Burr. Like, I'm able to see myself in both of their roles, in like sometimes very clearly in Burr and his waiting for things to happen and his kind of limits that he puts on himself. And then I also see myself as Hamilton with his relentless wants and not thinking everything through and acting in his own self-interest. I see a lot of myself in that, and through the experience watching them and seeing them deal with their problems, this teaches me things about myself and what I want to improve. It teaches me to not let ambition cloud my judgment and to prioritize my relationships. And so through the empathy that I feel with those characters, I can take that and learn lessons from it. Okay, number 3. For performances watched, how did the set design and the costumes add or detract from the message of the production? The set in particular, obviously it has all these levels and the ropes and stuff, and it feels colonial, but at the same time, it doesn't have the decadence of like colonial times. Like, it's kind of a stripped down set, so that like the bricks and the thing, like they still remind you of the New York of today in some ways, which helps, I think, the audience resonate better with the themes. And even some of the costumes aren't like elaborate. Yes, they're time period appropriate and they help put it in that place, but they're also like the ensemble costumes are not as like fleshed out and full. They're kind of stripped down, kind of like the set, which I think, and in the reading that I've done about Hamilton, was done intentionally so that people could watch the show and relate and still feel empathy for these characters. And so that added to the message of the production. Also totally added with the style of music being so, that was not as much of a thing at all, really, back when this came out, and it kind of revolutionized musical theater. But the set being stripped down and giving it hints of that modern feel helped the music and the show to all feel cohesive because of those set and costuming decisions. So yeah. Okay, number 4. What did this performance inspire me to care more deeply about, and where does it invite me to apply ethically, spiritually, or personally beyond the theater space? space. So this is a story about so many things: legacy, ambition, relationships, family, love, war, cost of war, the things that have built our country. And then I sometimes have joked with my friends that I've never felt more patriotic than after I watch Hamilton, just about what, not even that like I love my country, like this is the best country in the world, more like, wow, this country really can be something, and people from the past have put so much work and fought for freedoms and stuff, and that's something that I want to work to protect and make a real thing, because sometimes it's not. So it kind of begs that question. I always think about in Dear Theodosia, when they talk about building the world that they want for their children and for the future, which you can argue applies to all of us, because we are, no matter where we come from ancestors who wanted a better life for their children. And so it makes me want to act beyond the theater space to make that legacy a reality and to honor it and to make it mean something. Because if this country all goes to crap, then what is that story, like what did they fight for? It all fell apart. So it makes me want to act in those spheres of life. Yeah. Number 5, taking into consideration Joel Dolan's feminist spectatorship as well as Fink's ideas on learning caring, how does the production care for women and minorities? This does the intentional casting choices of this show to cast people of color, people who, the intention behind it was that the people who worked for this country and were a part of it, but their stories were often stripped away and not heard because of power structures in place and all the stuff that we can go into. But putting them in a place to tell the story, to feature their voices and let them be heard. So this show really puts an emphasis on that and makes you see that, especially because the grand majority of the figures that you're watching on stage are not the races that they actually were, except for like King George, which also puts things into perspective. Anyway, but it puts that lens very clearly, and you get the message that they're saying because of that intentional casting. Also, with regard to women's stories, they really showed that to a fuller extent. I always love seeing in the Reynolds pamphlet when you see Maria for a brief moment come out and then like leave. You see her reaction at least, whereas historically there's been a lack of, and yes, her part in the story is connected to her affair with Hamilton because that's what the show's about, but like she's not fully presented. Like she does have thoughts and feelings, and she's not just the seductress, you know. She's shown to have more in that. And same with like Eliza and Angelica and, well, Peggy not so much, she's brilliant. But the female characters are complex characters, especially in the sense of Eliza, and we get to see her side of the story, and you really get in the inner workings into her heart, especially with Burn, the scene/song. They put emphasis on these characters, and they're not just degraded to, because historically in musical theater especially, I always think of like Golden Age theater and how that is like the women's roles are just the bubbling soprano roles, and they fall in love, and that is it. And Hamilton, yes, it has a woman falling in love because everyone falls in love, but that's not all the characters are, and they're still fully fleshed out. So, and that was done in as an actual choice and as a thought out part of the show that adds to its depth, and as a woman watching it helps me connect with the material better. So yes, love the show, love it all, wonderful.